Alex wasn't searching for fortune. She was searching for survival. A young, independent restorer in Detroit, she fought daily to keep her small shop, Motor City Classics, alive. Her focus was on muscle-era Chevys, but her reputation for reviving impossible wrecks led her to a massive, derelict automotive plant scheduled for demolition, a forgotten industrial ruin covering several city blocks. She was scavenging for obscure tooling and rare assembly jigs. Deep inside the cavernous, unlit final assembly area, past towering stacks of rusting equipment, she found the anomaly. Not a pile of scrap, but a single perfectly preserved, albeit dusty, 1967 Chevrolet Impala four-door sedan. It was jet black, silent, and imposing. This wasn't a car, it was a shadow. The Impala was a common car easily camouflaged, but this one carried an unnerving aura. It was housed within a custom-built, hermetically sealed metal enclosure, cleverly disguised as a simple storage cabinet. The enclosure was dated 1989. Alex, guided by her instinct for authenticity, bypassed the locks. The moment the seal broke, a rush of cold, perfectly conditioned air escaped, carrying the faint scent of ozone and old electronics. The Impala was pristine. The black paint shone faintly under her flashlight beam, the chrome flawless. The odometer read exactly 1,200 miles. This was a car driven only to be hidden. Alex found the first puzzle on the transmission tunnel. The shifter knob was custom-made, heavy, and metallic. When she rotated it 180 degrees, the chrome trim plate beneath the console popped open, revealing a hidden service panel. Inside was a dense, magnetic tape reel encased in lead, a relic of Cold War computing. The service journal found in the glove compartment belonged to a man named Agent Silas Thorne, a name Alex recognized from obscure historical documents as a key operative in a CIA counterintelligence unit that was abruptly disbanded in the late 1980s. The final entry, dated October 1989, stated, "The Black Cat sleeps. The data is secured within the vehicle's core. Final extraction requires the specific sequence, EJM." Thorne vanished shortly after. Alex realized the Impala was a sleeper car, a highly specialized piece of operational equipment. The car's high-value classic status was a red herring. She hadn't found a restoration project. She had found the final evidence of a decades-old espionage operation. The low mileage, the custom seals, the hidden data, all pointed to a highly sensitive mission. The financial risk of touching the car was immense, but the historical weight of Silas Thorne's story was compelling. Alex knew she was sitting on a story that far surpassed the value of the car itself. She secured the Impala and began the meticulous process of documenting the find, starting with the mysterious console. Back in her secure shop, Alex used a multimeter to trace the wiring from the magnetic tape reel. The wire didn't connect to the ignition. It connected to the climate control unit. She realized the EGM sequence in Thorne's journal wasn't a password, but an operational trigger sequence tied to the car's mechanical switches. She spent days analyzing the Impala's original shop manuals, identifying 3 obscure, rarely used mechanical levers on the dashboard: the emergency brake release, the jam lighter selector, and the mirror adjustment knob. The correct sequence of toggles, EJM, completed a circuit. When Alex executed the sequence, the car's rear seat assembly didn't simply unlatch. The entire seat structure, frame and all, lowered hydraulically into the floor pan with a silent, controlled mechanical hum. The motion revealed a secondary, hidden subterranean vault built directly into the Impala's frame, shielded by layers of Kevlar and steel plating. This compartment was the true core mentioned by Thorne. Inside the vault, resting on felt padding, were 3 items: a disassembled, complex microcircuit board of Soviet origin, far ahead of Western technology for its time; a sealed diplomatic pouch containing a handwritten letter from an anonymous source; a large, dull metal box designed to be tamper-proof. The microcircuit board, after preliminary examination, appeared to be the control unit for a new generation of stealth technology, a genuine Cold War game-changer that could render existing air defenses obsolete. Thorne hadn't stolen secrets. He had stolen the technology itself. The letter revealed the deeper motive. Thorne was a double agent who had been tasked by a rogue faction within the U.S. intelligence community to acquire this technology at any cost. However, upon retrieving it, he discovered the rogue faction planned to sell the technology to both sides of the Cold War. Disgusted by the betrayal, Thorne had sabotaged the final operation, faked his own disappearance, and sealed the technology in the Impala, the perfect, unremarkable hiding spot. The large metal box, however, was inert. It had no identifying marks, no seams, and the sensors detected no organic or electronic material inside. It was a dense piece of solid metal, possibly just ballast, but it was protected with the same meticulous care as the circuit board. Alex's instinct told her it was a third secret, one Thorne hadn't documented. The value of the technology alone was staggering, easily in the billions for the First Nation to reverse engineer it. Alex knew the complexity of this find was exponentially higher than the Impala's market price. She was now holding assets that could trigger an international incident. Her loyalty was to the truth and the legitimate government. She meticulously documented the subterranean vault and contacted a specialized historical asset attorney, bringing the Cold War to life in her small Detroit garage. Hold on tight. This '67 Impala is a literal Cold War spy vault containing technology worth billions and tied to a vanished CIA agent. The secrets run deep. We need your help to keep unearthing these epic ghost finds. Hit that subscribe button right now and give this video a like. The mystery of the metal box and the fate of Agent Thorne are still ahead. Comment below. What do you think is inside that solid metal box? Let's dive back into the final chapters. The asset attorney, working through official channels, confirmed the gravity of the find. The CIA, FBI, and Department of Defense, DoD, mobilized a covert recovery team. Alex's small shop was quietly secured, becoming the temporary epicenter of a major national security operation. The microcircuit board was authenticated by DoD specialists as genuine, highly sensitive technology, a breakthrough the U.S. had assumed the Soviets had abandoned. Thorne's action in securing it was now viewed as a crucial, heroic act of counter-espionage, even if unauthorized. However, the inert metal box remained a problem. The security teams refused to open it until its contents were known, fearing a chemical or explosive trap. They brought in advanced non-destructive analysis equipment. After 48 hours of continuous scanning, the results came back. The box was a high-pressure, magnetically shielded container holding a single, dense, non-metallic payload. It wasn't a bomb, but a vault. The team followed a subtle instruction found in the diplomatic pouch, a sequence of 30-degree magnetic rotations on the box's surface, mirroring the Impala's steering column settings. The sequence deactivated the shield, allowing the lid to be carefully pried open. Inside, resting on a bed of industrial carbon fiber, was the final devastating secret, a series of 10 bound volumes of handwritten ledgers. These were not military plans. They were financial records detailing the exact dates, times, and Swiss bank accounts used by the rogue CIA faction to sell classified U.S. technology to multiple hostile foreign powers over 2 decades. The Impala was not just carrying the future of warfare. It was carrying the evidence of massive, systemic treason. Thorne hadn't just saved technology. He had exposed a global espionage ring operating from within the U.S. government. The ledgers named high-ranking military and political officials, the brass that Thorne couldn't trust. The revelation changed the entire scope of the operation from asset recovery to a full-scale counterintelligence purge. The Impala, a common 4-door sedan, had become the most important piece of evidence in modern American history. The DoD and Justice Department initiated legal proceedings. Alex, due to her role as the discoverer and the integrity she showed in reporting the contents, was retained as a primary consultant, tasked with documenting the car's custom mechanics for the legal record. The original Impala was declared an irreplaceable historical asset by the U.S. government. The legal proceedings spanned months. The evidence recovered from the Impala, the microcircuit, the ledgers, and Thorne's confession, led to the arrests and convictions of dozens of high-ranking officials involved in the espionage ring. Thorne was posthumously exonerated and hailed as a national hero. the government chose not to risk selling the Impala. Instead, it was officially declared a National Historical Asset and transferred to the Smithsonian National Museum of American History, where it was displayed, complete with its functional hydraulic vault and hidden console, telling the story of Agent Thorne's sacrifice. The question then shifted to Alex's compensation. The asset recovery laws were complicated, but the historical and national security value of the find was undeniable. The government, grateful for the full exposure of the treasonous ring, calculated the reward not just based on the car's intrinsic value, but on the avoided cost of national security damage, estimated to be in the tens of billions. The final reward package, consolidated from the U.S. Treasury, the Justice Department, and a special congressional allocation, totaled an unprecedented $45 million. Alex used the funds to wipe out her debts, purchase the old industrial plant where she found the Impala, and transform it into the Silas Thorne Museum and Restoration Institute, a massive nonprofit center dedicated to restoring forgotten American automotive history and training veterans in advanced mechanics. The original Impala's engine block, removed for forensic preservation, was mounted in the Institute's lobby, a monument to the man who chose a common car to secure his nation's future. Alex, the struggling mechanic, became a world-renowned figure, celebrated for her role in closing one of the darkest chapters of the Cold War. The Impala's silent presence in her life proved that the most valuable treasures are not always the rarest, but the ones carrying the weight of truth. The story of the Impala's Cold War memory proves that the most important history is often hidden in plain sight, camouflaged by the familiar. For Alex, the reward was not just financial. It was the legacy of restoring honor. If you want to uncover more stories of unimaginable fortunes hidden in forgotten cars, make sure you hit that subscribe button now and join us for the next great find.